Thanks for joining. I'm Robert Hokin, Managing Partner of Greenbackers, and this is our Investors Roundtable of Thursday, 21st of October. With me, we've got David Hollander and Anthony Jones of Propelair to talk to us about their program. Before we do that, and before I introduce the topic, I just wanted to get a quick understanding of the funders on the call. And Paul, you joined first, so do you mind if I ask you to kind of introduce yourself, what your program is all about? And it's, as I understand, is very relevant to UK co-investors as well.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
an important program. I think we should know a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I mean, briefly, my name is Paul Shadbolt. I'm an investment manager and represent the Greater London Investment Fund, the £100 million fund from the Mayor of London, focused on London-based SMEs, both debt and equity. I lead out on the debt fund, and we're there to support early stage London-based SMEs, which have got a strong management team, got traction, and are looking to scale. And we're there as an alternative to equity or to go in alongside equity. An interesting proposition. Yeah, our real sweet spot is businesses which have had a seed round, are looking to scale towards a Series A. And if we enable them to, not to dilute, but to bring on some salespeople and London-based staff and do some development and sales and marketing cost funding and help them get to their Series A at a higher valuation, yeah, fantastic. It's a debt fund. It's a market gap fund.
All right. And typically, Paul, what size of checks are you writing?
Yeah, we write checks between 100,000 and £1 million.
Okay.
And we're also approved for the government's UK government's recovery loan scheme package as well. Although that ends in December, 31st of December this year. But we're probably the only funder looking at early stage pre-profit businesses under that scheme.
Thanks for that. Are there any hairy preconditions that ventures should know about?
We like a strong management team. We like some good revenue traction, and we like a sales pipeline. And fundamentally for us, can we believe the ramp up story?
All right, so all the things that we Greenbackers look at, so no surprises there. And David's smiling because he's kind of worn out a couple of T-shirts in his story. We'll hear about that in a bit. Thank you very much, Paul, and welcome. Graham, maybe you could tell us what your program's about and a little bit more about you.
Sure. Well, over the past 12 years, I've been a private angel investor. So I have quite a lot of experience, both sides of the table, really. I had one or two entrepreneurial ventures of my own where we've gone out and sought funding, and I've helped some of the investments I've made to find further funding, markets, and so on and so forth. Right at the moment, I'm really the opposite end of the scale from Paul in terms of the amount of money that I'm handling, but right at the moment, having come out of some ventures recently, planned exits quite successfully, I am sitting on a little bit of a cash pile. It's only about 0.6 of a million, 600,000 or so. It's not a particularly big pile. It was a bit bigger, but it's been eroded. I've put some more into one of my previous successful ventures, which has just had a second VC round. Very successfully, and I've gone in alongside the VCs on that one. That's a business called Acceleron Energy, circular lithium-ion battery economy business. Doing very nicely, very proud of those guys and the progress they're making. I tend to like businesses where I can add some value with my experience of big corporates. I was global brand director of Rolls-Royce for 7 years. 12 years in total with Rolls-Royce on the communications side. And my last big corporate job was 7.5 years as Investor Relations Director and Communications Director at IMI PLC, during which time I took that organisation into the FTSE 100. Didn't stay there very long, but it's still pretty high up on the FTSE 250 these days. Very interesting business, very successful business, very proud to have been associated with that. But opposite end of the scale from the sort of thing I've been doing in the past 12 years. I left the big corporate world because I really wanted to do the stuff that interested me, which is clean techs, regenerative enterprises of one sort or another. I'm very heavily involved in a number of community social enterprises, just kicking another one of those off the ground at the moment. We've got some tremendous traction there linked into the Eden project down in Cornwall and that sort of thing. So that is pretty much me. Tend to be particularly interested in businesses with that regenerative element because the situation's just gone too far, really. You know, the old economy won't survive. It's going to change, going to have to change, or be forced to change very radically.
So, and Graham, if I recall, so being a UK resident, EIS matters to you, is that correct?
To some extent, yes. It's not critical, you know. If something is interesting enough and all the other boxes are ticked, I'll get involved. Or anyway, you know, even if EIS isn't there, just because it's what I want to do.
Terrific, and we like that. And Graham's a bit of an anomaly on the platform, I have to confess. Although we have a number of angel syndicates on the platform, we're careful on individual angels. They have to be able to evidence that they can you know, come in at a certain level of funding, and happily Graham you know, hits that level. But he's aside from one other, he's pretty unique as far as a typical, well, maybe an untypical angel profile. I don't want to put you in a box, Graham, but we're very pleased to have you on the platform and in the program.
Thanks, Robert, and I appreciate the welcome and the way you've reached out to me over the years very much indeed.
So, you know, when I was preparing for this session, I was looking at some of the news feeds, and I happened to, on my walk this morning, be listening to a Guardian podcast about the necessity of us having to think about living on a hotter planet. There is a line of thought that 1.5 degrees is just unrealistic to think that we can achieve only a 1.5 degrees hotter reduction in greenhouse gas. Numbers such as 2 degrees is under pressure now. 2.7 degrees has been feted. And when I think about that, you know, I think about climate change and water. You know, water stress, you know, where you have areas of limited water resources, you know, is something that we're going to, you know, potentially have to get used to. And I went on a UNICEF site, and I was a little shocked to see the prediction that by 2040, almost 1 in 4 children will live in areas of extremely high water stress. Rising sea levels are causing fresh water to become salty, compromising water resources. You know, climate change is happening now. We know that, and we have to act. But water is an important part of the solution. Sanitation, where it comes to water resources, is important. And one thing that David and Propelair made me aware of that I wasn't aware of before is that the world literally flushes 7% of its available drinking water down the drain. That's shocking. And living in an environment where water is going to matter, where we don't want to waste that resource is important. So I just thought I'd set the context for David and Anthony to come in. And David, maybe you could give us a little bit of insight as far as your program is concerned, where you're going with it. I'd really be interested to know in what prompted you to get into this game. What inspired you to create a toilet? But I certainly see the importance that sanitation and water plays in the overall scheme of things. Ultimately, everything has to have a commercial value to it, so we're interested in that too. But we've got why don't you take about 5 minutes or so to kind of outline your program, and then maybe we can talk around the trees as far as thoughts, questions, observations, and maybe even some resources that we can suggest to help you on your way. Is that all right?
Thanks very much, Robert, and no, thank you, and thank you, Greenbackers, for allowing me and Propelair to be part of the program and this opportunity today. To answer your question, I didn't create a toilet. What I did was I saw a fantastic opportunity, which was a toilet that had been created by a brilliant inventor that saved an enormous amount of water. And having got a background at Dyson, where I worked for 7 years, and seeing what great tech can do to make a difference, and then working at CEO of Aqualisa, the UK shower company, which again is a tech company, I was very excited to buy the technology that this represented. So 2.5 years ago, I joined a good management team, a member of which you'll meet in a moment, Tony Jones. He's our CFO, and together we set about trying to create commercialize what was a brilliant piece of technology. And I'm going to try and take a couple of minutes to take you through a few slides, just a few headlines, supported by a few headline slides, to give you just a little overview of Propelair, and then I will and then I'll open it up for questions if that works. Now, you mentioned earlier, Robert, that you weren't into technology. You beat me, but I'm going to try to share my screen and see whether that works. I'm going to rely on Tony to interrupt.
Yeah, that's good.
That's perfect.
No, but I then went and stopped it
because I meant,
yeah, exactly.
Got too excited.
Got too excited. I pressed the wrong button. So just so what can you see? I know you now can see a small screen, I think.
It was better the way it was.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do it one more time, and this time I'll get it right. Now you can see my desktop, I'm guessing.
No, I can see you.
Okay.
David, if it's a problem, I mean, we're happy for, this is informal. We're happy to, for you to talk us through it. Oh, here comes the screen. So threatening it helped.
Yeah, that
works.
Brilliant.
That's good.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Perfect.
Good. So as I said, I'm going to just talk for a couple of minutes to tell you about Propelair. And we are an environmental solution, but we're an environmental solution that actually saves customers money right away. We exist, as has already been said, to save water. And as Robert said, that's in a world that flushes 7% of its water, literally, and its drinking water down the drain. We, Propelair, are the UK designer of the world's lowest water flush toilet. We're engineered specifically for heavy footfall premises. the Propelair system connects to existing plumbing systems and can even be retrofitted. It's protected by 3 patent families, and it works with over 4,200 installations. And Propelair's turnover was £1 million in 2019. And after now we're recovering from the COVID period, we're coming back with a forecast to match that in 2021. And in 2022, we expect it to be 3 times that size. So we're already saving customers £3.5 billion worth of money and 1 billion litres of water every year. These are the customers that we're working with. As you can see, very prestigious ones. And although not water stricken, the UK's customers still want to save money, save water, save carbon, and improve hygiene. And they're so happy that, in fact, our specifying and repeat customers now represent about 40% of our revenue. Following successful entry into South Africa, where, as you can see, we have some pretty impressive customers, shopping malls, Burger King, Siemens, and Nedbank, amongst others. We're now entering the Gulf, partnering a firm called Aquaforce, and we've already set up 2 test sites. Firstly, with Fly Dubai's HQ, ahead of a paid-for pilot in 2 of Dubai Airport's terminals. And we're also working with City Centre brand. They're owned by the Majid Al Futain Group, to a $9 billion business that has malls across the whole of the Middle East. And we're expecting a full rollout in their first mall in early 22. So we have a clear 5-year plan. We need to reduce our cost and improve margins, but we will do that partly by growing our volume very substantially over the period. And we expect to go through profitability in 2023. But to achieve it, we need additional funds to get to profitability, to expand internationally, to invest in new technology. And we know we've got the experienced management team, as I've already mentioned, to take the business to the next level. And by 2026, we would expect to be aiming for an exit, probably to a trade buyer. So that was my quick 2-3 minute overview. I'm very happy to take questions, as is Tony, who it probably makes sense to just briefly introduce himself, and then we'll let Robert chair the rest of the meeting.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm the CFO. I'm a chartered accountant. I've also got a BSc Honours. I've worked in a very wide range of industries, mainly SMEs, and I've specialised in helping them grow and adding shareholder value, which I've done in every case, turn them around very significantly. And I've been with Propelair for just over 3.5 years.
That's great. Thank you very much. And thank you, David. That's a very short and sweet synopsis of the program. I've got a question. I'll kick things off. You said the use of funds was to invest in, amongst other things, into new technology. That implies a product roadmap, technological improvements. Where do you hope to take this this program? What technology are you looking to invest in?
So the biggest opportunity we've got is to make this product so flexible that it goes in any commercial outlet at a lower price, and then potentially onto residential, which is the market that's some 3 times the size of the commercial market. But to do that, it has to be much cheaper. It has to be more flexible. We have to have a wall hung as well as a floor standing option, and that's where our investment focus is. So that is a substantial investment, and it's off the back of, we already have a prototype. It's off the back of Horizon 2020's grant that we've just finished utilizing to create that prototype. So we know what the product looks like, but we'll need money to develop it. We also have a couple of other smaller ideas, the first of which is to implement Internet of Things connectivity to provide facilities managers with the kind of information they need to run their operation. They'd like to know they have a broken down toilet before their customer tells them. Nothing worse than an irate user saying all your toilets are broken, or blocked. If their toilet's blocked, they should know that before their customer tells them. We can provide that information because uniquely we have the PCB right there, powered at the point of delivery of the flash.
And you're looking to raise 5.5 million for your Series B, and you also have a convertible loan note available too. Is that CLN still open?
Yes, it is. The limit is the amount of money we're going to raise as part of that 5.5 million, and is available, and we can go into the details of that later.
Okay.
There's about 574 available. And I mean, Graham, thinking of you in particular, the terms are really good. They were drawn up by our second biggest shareholder, who started off the round by lending us 750. But there's 1.5 million altogether. There's just been a seeders round closed, and yeah, there's 574 left over, and there's both a redemption premium plus a discount. And effectively a cap at the price. So for someone like yourself, obviously there's no EIS. It's perhaps a really good opportunity.
All right.
The rest is EIS. Just to be clear, the rest of our raise is EIS eligible.
Right.
Yes, but obviously the CLN is not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So at the risk of going over, and I'm happy to go over, I'm just looking at the time. Right now, Paul, Graham, did you have any observations, any questions, even other areas, avenues of support? Be interested in your thoughts. Paul, do you want to kick
Sorry,
it
Graham's
off?
got his hand up.
Oh yeah, sure. I didn't see that, Graham. Please go ahead.
Okay, couple of quick questions around the product. What do you think are the barriers to competition? How are you going to defend your position over the next few years until you can sell out and it becomes somebody else's responsibility? And whereabouts are you manufacturing? What's your route to market? Is it through distributors?
Let's take the first question first. We do partner. We entirely work with partners. We do not. We have a small team who oversee that partnership network of sales sales affiliates and distributors. We work in slightly different ways in the UK, where we have multiple distributors, to say the Gulf, where we have one partner, and there's a combination of that in South Africa. We assemble ourselves around the bowl. Part of our IP is the way that the air flows into the bowl, and that's quite a technical solution, and we assemble that ourselves. The bowls themselves, the electronics, the plastics, are outsourced, and part of our plan to reduce cost is to seek to do that assembly in a lower cost environment in due course, when we've got the volume that justifies that.
So when you retrofit, you're putting in a completely new bowl and system, basically, somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's basically,
except you're not doing it. A plumber is doing it who's buying the kit from a distributor.
Plumber is doing it on behalf of the distributor, or in every case, the distributor, the sales affiliate, owns the relationship with the customer, and they then have it installed by a trained plumber that we will have. We ensure is qualified to do the work.
Well, that sounds to me like a point of friction and problem. A poorly installed system will immediately rebound on your reputation.
Which is why why the only people that install it are trained and qualified installers.
They're trained by us. So we've got installation partners,
Mhm.
and the work all goes to installation partners that we have trained and certified as qualified to, just like a plumber has to be trained on gas to put a boiler in.
Yeah.
Our guys are trained on our particular toilet. So they are experts in their field.
I'm a founder shareholder of a business called Heavershaw, which is remote monitoring of heating and cooling systems to prevent corrosion issues and so on and so forth. We very quickly established there that the best route to market was through people operating, certainly in the UK, water treatment companies. They don't have quite the same sort of thing in Europe and other places, but in the UK, water treatment companies, we trained up their people. We've got very good control over those relationships. And when those distributors, and they're not distributors, so they are partners, and if they don't meet the expectations of our agreement, we pull the agreement. And presumably you've got something similar.
Yes, but our relationship is with the distributors, with the we call them partners, but it's a distribution relationship. Our relationship is with them, and they commission the work, the installation work in almost all cases. Naturally, we're growing, so some of our customers have had a direct relationship with us in the past, and that is maintained. But fundamentally, the model is the one I've described.
Okay, thank you. Let Paul have a go.
So Graham, just the retrofitting. The retrofitting, the emphasis is that it's onto existing waste networks of plumbing and drains, whereas something like a vacuum system, you've got to replace that whole background, and ours just slot into the existing waste network.
Understand? Yeah.
Yeah.
My question is, for a product which can be new fitted or retrofitted, and some of your, that blue chip clients list you showed have got considerable property asset in the States. What's really stopped you getting, I suppose, better cut through? If I'm thinking about your revenues, £1 million in 19, £1 million in 21, I would have thought with the difference you can make and some of those companies buying the product, I suppose I'm surprised the turnover is not significantly higher already.
Okay, so it's a great question. To the 2 points I'd make. The first is the only reason we started in the UK was because we were founded in the UK. We're not a water-stricken country, and even though Thames Water say that we'll be out of water, demand will outstrip supply by 2025. You look out the window and you find it difficult to believe. So I think that what we're finding is in countries like South Africa and now the Gulf, we're getting very different responses because there's a desperate need that's driving this. The fact that it saves money helps make it happen, but the focus is on their immediate need. And that was why our international expansion was so important. And it's really interesting to see, you get a very different reaction in South Africa, and more importantly in the Gulf. As I've already said, we're talking about rolling out. We've only been there 5 weeks. I mean, we launched at the Big Five building event, trade event at the beginning of September. And so we're getting some terrific reaction there. So I think the environment's important. The second is that even where the environment's excellent, this is hassle. We're asking about people to close down their washrooms. We're not asking them to change the lights, which was difficult enough. We're actually saying you've got to close a facility in order for us to do this. And we'll work with them over weekends and overnight, and we'll do work with them to make sure that customers are redirected. But if you're a 24-hour restaurant, then that can be difficult. So it has to be well planned. And so it really is about there has to be a compelling reason to make this happen, which is why going into water-stricken countries is so important.
But that's the distributor's responsibility, not yours. The partner's responsibility.
They're doing it, but we're working very closely with them, and we understand it well because we have had a history of doing this directly ourselves, working with our customers so that we understand what they want. But as we grow, it will be through our partners to make it happen, but we understand it and we'll work with them. We'll do the lead generation for them. We will create the demand. We'll do the initial installations. We'll train the staff, but we do not want to increase our overheads to the point where we're taking on a a big chunk of the cost. We think that the partners are the best place to do that, because after all, they've then got the opportunity to increase the services they provide their customers. If they do a good job on the toilets, they will get perhaps responsibility for the rest of the washrooms, or for other parts of the plumbing in plumbing installations in the facilities.
Commercial toilets are on average replaced every 10 years. And if you happen to hit that 10-year cycle, then it becomes almost a no-brainer to buy our toilet, because actually it's the only toilet that pays for itself. But if you're not in that 10-year cycle, or they've just replaced their toilets, then it's, you know, a far more traumatic decision to rip out perfectly functional toilets.
Yeah.
So two things that would, you know, on your business development side, we've never spoken about this. That would lead me to surmise that working with developers such as JLL, new builds, you know, large commercial building construction opportunities, and the FM community, the facilities management community, is going to be pretty mission critical to you going forward. Do you engage with, how do you engage with the market in that respect?
So they are important, and they will be increasingly important as we scale, because they are our future. But the reason why we focused on the customers whose logos you saw earlier is they're the ones that have the ability to demonstrate the effectiveness of the product. They run these as pilots, and small pilots, now larger pilots. And to Tony's point, which is an excellent one, obviously the reason why 40% of our revenue is now with specifying and repeat customers is, once proven, we then get on to their cycle, and we have effectively a recurring revenue stream from them.
Mm-hmm. I'm also noting I was noting some of the brands that were on that slide, and a lot of them, you talked about Siemens, Shell, Arup, McDonald's, Nedbank, Aviva. Investec is already an investor in Lloyd's Bank, but all these are funding organizations as well. Well, not McDonald's necessarily, but they've got a huge ESG agenda now. You only have to look at their commercials to see that, and those could be, you know, opportunities to engage the funding side of the business with the installed base side of your business going forward. I don't know if you've made any inroads on that, but that kind of is an area that I'd like to explore. And then on the Middle East side, you know, one of the funders coming into the program is going to be Saudi Aramco. Some of their Aberdeen guys were in touch with. There's also in Dubai in February of this year something called Race to Net Zero that we might be able to tow you into. We've just been invited to go out there by Scottish government, something called CivTech Alliance, which you know about from our program. They're one of our program sponsors, and I think Mark and Andrew will go out as part of that program. I think there are only 2 funded spaces, so I get to stay home and mind the shop. But that's something that you might want to look at as well. I mean, Paul, what's your steer on this program, and are there other pots of funding over and above your program that the guys might be looking at engaging with?
I certainly think within my area of expertise will be London. So if I'm thinking around, there are other sustainable funds. We back sustainability, but on a broader church agenda. But yeah, you think of things like Scion Finance or some of the other sustainable lenders. There are other options out there. I do wonder what, if you think where you get real breakthrough, what can you do to get in, particularly in the water-stricken countries around? I don't know what building regulations they have for commercial properties, but how do you get on such that your type of product is prescribed on any new build commercial property as a way forward?
Getting on PSLs, is that your comment, Paul?
Yeah, I just suppose I keep coming back to, with the difference the product makes, and governments having to manage in particular water-stricken countries. I think Johannesburg, what was last summer, was running out of water, and the water supply was only turned on a couple of hours a day. In things like that, how do you get governments to start prescribing your product or something similar, as it has to go in on building regs? Although I'm uncertain in South Africa whether building regs are anywhere like what we have in the UK.
Building regs in South Africa are actually very strong and very well maintained, and it could well be prescribed. We have specifically had our product approved in South Africa as part of the regulations, and as you say, in Cape Town, where they were going to run out of water, we actually hit the market there just at that time, and the people were actually saying they want our product immediately. The new builds, for a startup that's pre-profit, the new build time span is pretty long, and it can be up to 10 years from concept design through to actually getting on. And toilets are one of the last things that get put in. So just from a survival point of view, we need the retrofitting to get going, and then we are confident that we will be specified for new builds, but we can't survive initially with new builds because it's just too long. I used to be in property development.
Just to close, build on Tony's point, our focus has been as a team moving from talking to a few customers about a funnel of opportunities of about 3,000 in their estate to what we can do now, which is about 80,000 in their estates, and that's before we talk about the Gulf. So we're already talking to customers with 80,000 units in their estates, and even if only half of them were usable, that would mean if they're replaced once every 10 years, we're already talking about 4,000 a year for the next 10 years. Once we get to that kind of level, we've then got momentum to be able to do exactly what you're talking about, Paul, and specification is critical to our future of our business. And we've got, once we get to that scale, which is to Graham's first question, once we get to that scale, then we will become interesting to the bigger sanitary ware companies. At the moment, they're clearly, this is a small fringe opportunity for them. These guys are in mass market. They're in residential and huge installations. So they need to see the scale of the opportunity. And we believe, to Paul's point, that these are that the market demand is such that we will get the traction. We are getting the traction. We're having the conversations. The sales are coming through post-COVID, and now we're in these water-stricken countries. We're really turning the motor up. So it's an exciting time to be doing this, and I think that we've got a few years to go to get through to profitability and then get to the scale that's interesting. But then we will have the ability to exit.
In this country, we've got quite a big footprint in the universities, which is kind of a footprint into the government. We've also dealt with the MOD, and they've done a trial where they're very, very happy with it to the point that they want to roll it out, but they haven't, because obviously funding in the government isn't a simple matter. But we do believe the government should be right behind it. The water that we're saving, it boggles my mind, and although I live with it all the time, it is truly mind-boggling the amount of water that we're saving. With just 4,000 installed toilets, we're saving 1 billion litres of water a year, and that is equivalent to the entire East Anglia waters. Their entire supply per day is 1 billion litres. So it is 1 day's supply of a whole water authority. It's a whole dam full of water. We're talking massive amount of water just from 4,000 toilets.
Well, you're going to have an opportunity to hopefully meet with some government actors at the Greenbackers Super Pitch on the 9th. Graham, Paul has said that he won't be able to make it up to the COP itself, but I hope that you're able to dial in online, or at least see the replay tape afterwards. You'll get we've been sending out lots of invitations to it, but I'll send out something specific to you so that you can come as our guests. One thing that that strikes me is given your MOD connections, David, there is the Cabinet Office procurement arm. There's a guy by the name of David Nangle who we know there, and that could be a useful introduction for you. I've made a note of that, and we'll follow up with that. You've got big guys like Robertson Group who do construction builds and have a strong social agenda, and perhaps some of your buddies at Dyson. They're in washrooms and lavatories all over the world, and maybe there's a partnership opportunity for there, because you both have the same ethos, both the same sphere of operations with their hand dryers and the Propelair toilet. There could be a deal to be done there. I'm remembering my Kelly's Heroes. So maybe something to consider. I'm just conscious of time. We've gone terribly over, but I don't mind because you've stayed with us, and nobody's scowling at me. So I think we should probably bring it to a close, unless you have any, Graham, Paul, you have anything specific, but otherwise you have the contact details for David and Anthony. You also know that, you should know that you can find the detailed information on Propelair on the showcase, and all you need to do, Graham, this is more for you because I think Paul's already done it. Yes, all you have to do if you're interested in following up, just click on the mark my interest. You can chat with the guys in the chat function. You can ask us to arrange a meeting if you like. We'll make life as simple as possible.
For your information, Robert, I'm doing that with the Lambda team at the moment.
Another good company, totally different sphere, but those guys are as is Propelair ones to watch, in my personal opinion, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, seeing we're in such a small forum here, I mean, Graham, if there's anything in particular that you want us to send you, I mean, I don't know what you've actually had sight of, but we're more than happy to. We've got all kinds of packs.
Well, let me mull over this a little bit. It doesn't seem to be quite in my sweet spot, but what I've done with the Lambda guys is, after an initial conversation rather similar to this, although it wasn't shared by Robert, it was just directly me and them. I sent them a list of things that I considered to be plus points and minus points and uncertain points as to whether it was an investment for me. They're thinking about those. We've got a follow-up meeting next Tuesday when they say they will go through those points with me. So let me mull on this, and if I feel it's worth your time and my time, I'll drop you a note at some point with something similar to that, in all likelihood.
That'd be
Thanks
great.
very much.
Terrific.
Thank you. Look forward to hearing from you if you're interested. Obviously, we hope you are. But thank you for taking the time to join us today, and thank you, Robert, for setting this up.
Yes, thank you.
And Robert, just for your information, Paul and I are in. We've had quite a number of conversations and emails going forward. So we in quite an advanced stage of discussions at this stage. So.
Yeah, that was mentioned, and both Paul, Graham, should you have any ideas of other funders? I mean, Paul, thank you very much for mentioning a few. Cyan Finance will follow up with, but if there are any other actors that can help in the syndication and completion of this round, we're always happy to take suggestions and reach out to those funds and invite them on the platform, provided that they're bona fide funders. We have to do KYC on everyone. So,
what are the links with Mercia and BGF at the moment, Robert? Because they've been absolutely brilliant with Acceleron. Hevershaw, we've done it entirely with friends and family so far, and they're self-sustaining now. So there's still only 6 private shareholders with Hevershaw.
but
Acceleron, valued at 8 million in the latest round, that I, as I say, was part of. and BGF and Mercy have both been very good there. I can recommend those.
Good shouts. We know people in both funds. They haven't come onto the platform yet, but that's a good call. And we are doing some push on behalf of Propelair and others to attract. They have been on our mailing list. They haven't engaged yet, but at least as far as I know.
Well, I will put in a word for you there with the guys I know at both of those organisations, Robert, if that would be helpful.
Always helpful. We don't charge funders to come onto the platform as long as they're bona fide funders and they pass our KYC. We're happy to have all comers. We're getting more international funds coming onto the platform, but please don't assume that we know everybody. We do have links to lots and lots, and there are more funds forming all the time. For us, it's about building up critical mass, and we've got 220 funds on the platform now. Don't know where they were today, but we'll make sure that the replay tape is made available to all of them. We'll upload it onto the profile, so maybe some of those other guys can kind of speed listen through this program and get some goodness out of that. So thanks very much, everybody. I'm going to call it now. And David, Paul, Anthony, Graham, it's been a real pleasure to see you here. Stay safe. The next thing is to focus on the COP program and delivering that, and really excited about that. So hopefully you'll be able to join us at least online on the day. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks very much.
All the best.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Fine.